Hi everyone, it's Wednesday 5th of September, Simon Keeling here. Thanks again for watching weatherweb.net. As always, the site's get free of charge by you coming back and visiting the site, looking at the adverts around the screen, using the adverts that are there as well. It's that generates revenue which keeps the site free of charge. So thank you very much for coming back, and thanks for using the charts. We're adding new charts all the time and new features as well. Looking like it's going to get warm over the next few days. This is the temperature chart for London, but quite a contrast between north and south. You'll see how the maximum temperatures look are rising. These are maximum temperatures, daylight temperatures for London. So we're looking at as we're heading into the weekend and into the early part of next week, we're seeing temperatures getting up to the good part of 24 degrees Celsius, perhaps even nudging at 25. They're then falling off, look, into next week, and we then come down to nearer sort of the high teens. You notice as well the rainfall. Look, here's this dry weather coming in, but then notice that the ensemble tried to pick up on some rainfall, look here, from about late on the 10th into the 11th, which is taking us through from Monday into Tuesday of next week. I'll show you that in just a moment. And then more unsettled weather into next week. Now, I think the term unsettled probably is a little bit OTT, but that's where it seems things are. And it looks like Cardiff's the same. Look, this is the chart for Birmingham, so much the same. And also Manchester, and here we have Glasgow too, although notice how Glasgow, look, doesn't get into the dry conditions as it does further south. Here we're going to be troubled with rain, I think, right the way through. ECMWF also picks up on quite a nice pattern on this. Look, this is the chart for midnight last night. Here's the area of high pressure that's keeping things generally fine across many areas. You notice there the jet stream here, look, further north, and the jet stream is sort of through this position just at the moment. And in fact, I think I've got a jet stream chart here for you. There we go. Here's the jet stream as of 7 o'clock this morning, look, and it was blowing to the south of Scotland, to the south of Iceland through Scotland. So this is where we're seeing the more unsettled weather, and you'll notice as I run this through, which goes in 6-hour steps, how the jet stream tends to stay close to Scotland throughout the next few days, and really it's that controls the weather further north, while high pressure stays on down to the south. So back to the ECMWF, these go forward in 24-hour steps. So that's today. This is Thursday, look, with a high over the top of us. Jet stream being pushed away a little bit further north. And then this is the chart for Friday. High pressure still there, but look, low pressure in the Atlantic. This is the trough that we're watching out towards the west. There's Saturday, look. Here's the ridge again. We're still under the influence of high pressure, hence keeping the south dry, but with fronts close to the north because of the jet stream, we're getting outbreaks of rain affecting Scotland. Then we're going to get into Sunday, and this is the chart for Sunday, where we've got this southerly flow blowing up through the country, bringing some very warm conditions, but look, here comes this trough. And by Monday, that trough has edged eastwards. We've got the remnants of a tropical storm up here towards the east of Iceland. So this is quite an active little system, look. And this trough digging in quite deeply. The trough passes towards the east as we get in towards Tuesday of next week, although it is a weakened feature with the ridge trying to build back into the west once again. But that trough really delayed on getting eastwards until the middle part of next week, and then this is the period I was telling you about, the sort of 12th to the 14th, a period to watch for becoming windier and wetter across the country. You notice how the ECMWF makes it windier. Look, the isobars close together. Rain mainly across Scotland and Ireland, not that much further south, but we need to watch for the threat of this. And similar for the 14th too, but notice by then, look, we're starting to build that ridge back into the west, and as that ridge builds in, look, into the 15th, it becomes more of a dominant feature once again. So I think again this builds up this picture that we've been talking about over the last few days of the idea of the high collapsing away, getting this spell of unsettled weather sometime in the 12th to the 14th, windier and wetter, although the far south may escape from it. Then the ridge building back in around the 15th, 16th. I think the wind's tending then to nip into the north or the northwest. I think this ridge probably is elongated up here somewhere, and I think then we may get some cooler winds coming down these eastern coasts. Still hints of cooler weather towards the end of the month too. So we look as if the forecast is on track just at the moment as far as this morning is concerned. Here's the detail then for the next few days. This is this afternoon. Look, there's the area of high pressure that's over the top of us just at the moment. You'll notice how, as we step through the sequence here, high pressure just stays with us right the way through tomorrow, look, overnight. And this is the rain coming into northern and western Scotland, some of it quite heavy at times. To the south, though, high pressure stays with us through Thursday, although it becomes cloudier and wetter across Scotland. Most of the rain affecting western parts of Scotland. I think overnight in towards Friday, still got some outbreaks of rain up towards the north, look, but to the south it stays dry, it stays fine, with some good spells of sunshine. Then as we get in towards Friday, so we find the highs still to the south. Look, here's the front trying to get southwards, but it's mainly affecting Ireland, northern England and also Scotland. So I think dry and fine down to the south, although I think what we do need to watch for in the next few mornings is mist and fog affecting southern areas and increasingly cool as well. There could be a touch of ground frost in 1 or 2 rural places. Then heading into the weekend, well, here's the front going northwards with the jet stream. Here's the flow coming more into the south, so many areas are dry with some good spells of sunshine. Could be some low cloud affecting northwest England, west coast of Wales and southwest England with a bit of drizzle here, and a little bit of rain for northern and western parts of Scotland too. Into Sunday, the flow turns more into the south, so it's a warm day. I think rain for northern and western Scotland. Also some bits and pieces of drizzle across Ireland. An increased risk of low cloud for western coast of Wales and southwest England, bringing some drizzle at times. And then into next week, look, the trough's starting to come through. This is the first of the fronts, bringing some outbreaks of rain through much of Scotland, northern and western England, Wales and also Ireland. Not much on it though by the time it goes eastwards, but it does introduce a cooler northwesterly flow. And then through Tuesday we find the ridge of high pressure is in, so it's mainly dry across most of the country. Some outbreaks of rain for Scotland, for northern England too, but many areas look as if they are going to be staying dry into the middle of next week. But then we find, look, the ridge, the GFS trying to build back high pressure up towards the north of the country. So you can see here a discrepancy between the models. The GFS trying to build this high back in, whereas actually I think the solution to this one is going to be more like the ECMWF, which is this, where we get into a strong westerly flow. And just out of interest, also the ECMWF isn't on its own with this. This is the Canadian model, and if we just show you the chart for the 13th from the Canadian, there we go, that's how it looks, very similar with its jet stream blowing through the country. They delay it by about 12 hours, look, but by the 14th, yeah, we've got these unsettled conditions coming all the way through. And it's also worth noting as well that the Canadian end up, look, with colder air coming in on the back of this system, and they keep the ridge further west. This is the preferred solution at the present time. So much to watch out for, but this period, the 12th to the 14th, is where I think we are going to see some breakdown into more widespread and settled conditions. But before that, lots of dry weather and staying fairly warm too. So thanks again for watching, and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.